Search Economy, episode 2. The fun part about doing this show, which we're early, but I think the topics for this get created through conversations that were happening just internally at Newman. That is kind of why we're jumping into today's topic. We're going to be talking about the impact of people over technology, which is super fun. There's a lot of passion in Slack and in team meetings. But David, maybe we launch here. I am curious. I think technology certainly plays a very critical and interesting role in just how we think about marketing. And you are an individual who's kind of built Newman, this agency, from the ground floor. So I'm curious, when I think about just like organizations and building, I think about people, process, strategy, and technology. How, in those like 4 buckets, how have you thought about that when building Numa? And definitely want to just like get your perspective, since it's the main topic, on just like the technology of it all and how it fits in.
A great place to start. I'll put it this way. I think it always starts with strategy. The first and foremost thing that we always do with clients, and I even think internally about as we started to build a business, strategy being, uh, what are we actually doing here? Like, why am I waking up? What am I doing? Why am I typing on the keyboard type things? Like the real philosophical questions. But I always think it starts with strategy. And as I even think about a client campaign, what is the strategy that we're trying to achieve? What are the goals that we want to achieve? What's important to you? What's not important to you? What do you deem valuable? What do you not deem valuable? Who are your competitors? How are we going to compete? Right? We can get really granular into that. And I'd say from strategy, to me, people come next, process come third, and then tech comes fourth, which I think is a different thing for a lot of agencies. Um, and the reason I say that is I don't think we've gotten to where we're at because of an accident. I think we're here for a reason, right? And it's because of something we've done right. And whether it was purposeful or not, I think that's just the reality of it. But back in the early days when this was bootstrapped and it started with just a few clients and an interest in making people rank higher on Google, uh, we didn't have SEMrush. We didn't have Ahrefs. I mean, we had Google Docs and some intuition. And I remember the first couple campaigns that I built, I didn't have an analysis tool. I had me and I had Google. And if you wanted to rank for any keyword, you name it, we'll keep using like roofers near me or roofers in Indianapolis. I would just go Google it and see who ranked. I would see what they had on their pages, what they didn't have on their pages, how long the pages were. And I always come back to that to say the tech helps for sure. Like don't get me wrong on that. SEMrush makes our job easier and quicker. Ahrefs does as well, and some of these other tools. But knowing how to press buttons on SEMrush and Ahrefs isn't actually SEO. You have to know the strategy. You have to have the right people pressing the buttons, the right processes to get that in front of the client. Tech only makes things easier, but it doesn't make up the whole process for you.
I want to learn a little bit more about, before we get, you posted something on LinkedIn that I want to jump into that I think we were previewing here. But before we do that, I want to talk about this, just like tech infrastructure at Numa and how we do tech, right? One thing that I've observed just in the short time that I've been here is that there are a lot of things that are automated for the better. I'm thinking about just like updates I'm getting regularly in Slack. Like there is some great things I don't even need to think about because technology is presenting information to me instantly. Um, how do you decide, just when building a company, what needs to be done by people and what needs to be done by tech?
I dig it. So really early on, I essentially was trying to hold myself accountable to say what should I be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, and I came up with something called the EDA board: eliminate, delegate, and automate. And essentially, I had a whiteboard. I guarantee you, it's still in my closet. I need to get it out. But um, anything that I did that really didn't require much input or thought, it was just actions. It was steps that I were taking. I didn't have to sit strategically and think about what I should do. It was an email template that I just needed to copy and paste and send, right? Actions like that, I would either eliminate because they weren't valuable, I would delegate to somebody else, or I would automate. That board quickly just became an automate board. Every task that I did that I really could have done blindfolded, made it onto that board, and then made it on a way to into an automation, right? I think that's fun to say, but the broader point that I really want to call it in that as well is we want to automate things that take our time, obviously, but we want to automate things that don't let us focus our time strategically on strategic actions or strategic input. So, instead of sending out a templated onboarding email multiple times, I'd rather automate that so I can spend more time prepping for the client onboarding. Instead of, doing X, I'm going to do Y. So I think the way that we've thought about it at Numa is that if we're going to have a piece of tech, we don't want it to be fun and games. We want the piece of tech to take away some type of monotonous, repetitive work, so our team can focus on the strategic, high level thinking that actually moves the needle. And it's not just the admin or manual work that happens in the background.
I think what's going to be really important for listeners, just as we continue this conversation, is for us to say technology isn't a bad thing. We use technology at Numa, like David just mentioned, to help automate tasks that allow us to focus on strategic initiatives. But I think the importance of this is just to make sure we all understand the importance and value in people. And I want to just get into like what you posted on LinkedIn, because I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about it. But you posted, I've heard the same thing time and time again, and it always frustrates me. Quote, yes, we're doing SEO. I think so on and so on. Our team pays for SEMrush, end quote. Let's get this record straight. Paying for SEO software doesn't mean you're doing SEO. Does it mean you can do keyword research, analyze content, run a few audits? Definitely. But good SEO brings all of those items into one holistic strategy to get in front of your customers. And SEMrush and Ahrefs subscription just doesn't cut it out. So we get so obsessed as marketers, especially in the search economy, as we're trying to be found, trying to band-aid a solution with technology, when in a lot of cases it just takes people, and we should be turning towards people. So I want to understand the spirit of that post and kind of what you're trying to communicate to your audience with it.
I think it's two things. Do you have a gym membership?
I used to, we have a
You have
home
the home gym,
home
right?
gym
Yeah.
now, but we used to have one before we built the home gym.
So if somebody came to you and said, "All right, I'm ready to get in shape. I bought a gym membership. When do I get my six pack?" You'd be like, "No, you gotta use the gym membership. Like you gotta go and like you have to figure out what exercises do for abs and maybe arms and shoulders, right?" I equate a lot of that comment to the gym membership fallacy of like, "Well, I have a gym membership. Am I in shape yet? I have SEMrush. Like, when do the leads come in?" And like clients don't specifically say that, but it's the intent of their thought. And I don't hold them accountable because SEO is confusing, man. It's a black box. There is so much information on the internet about SEO that like I get it. You hear SEMrush, it's an SEO tool, and you're like, great, I'm just gonna give it to so and so on the team and they're gonna rock it. I think in the heart of that post, it's that just because you have it doesn't mean it's just gonna work for you. You gotta use it. If you get a gym membership, you gotta go there and jump on the treadmill if you want to get healthier. I think the other part about that though, and you already hit on, why do we run away from customers time and time again? I'm not a marketer by trade. I'm not a salesperson or even an SEO person by trade. I started in consulting, and the number one thing that you get taught in consulting is talk to the client. Do not hide from the client. Get in front of the client as much as possible. You should know what they had for breakfast, what they had for dinner, and like that's overkill. But I think as a marketer, we see SEMrush and we're like, okay, SEO can generate leads. SEMrush can help me do that. Great. SEMrush is going to give me keywords. I'll write content for that, and I'll rinse and repeat. Sure, but a lot of times you'll hear from other people, especially people that come to us, clients that come to us from other agencies. Yeah, they threw a bunch of keywords on the site. They messed things up. I need your help to figure it out. We don't dare start with keywords. Keywords are like the third or fourth step in our process. Even, it might even be longer than that. I want to start with your customers. I want to start with your business. I want to start with what's worked for you in the past. I want to really get to know you, your business, your strategies, tactics, what you've put into place, your goals, fears, everything. Because then I'm going to take all of that and find the keywords that represent what you're doing or drive the right traffic. And I think that's where SEMrush, to be fair, does a lot of good for us because we're coming at it with the right motive. But if it's the wrong person, it's just a bunch of keywords and audit tools. you got to know what buttons to press. You got to know why you're pressing them, and those answers always come from talking to clients. And I would even say talking to the customers of our clients and getting a really good understanding of why they actually bought, what their buyer's process was like, how they searched, what they searched for, when they searched, why they searched. All of those things come into play.
As someone who comes from the world of software and spent my whole career there, I know the game. And the game is, hey, how can we position this problem aggressively to an audience and get everyone's attention? And then when we have their attention, say, hey, what our product can do can solve all your problems. All you need to do is sign up for the subscription and off to the races.
Well, and it's that too. It's just like, oh, great, problem solved. I'm now paying something monthly. Oh, hold on. That is not like, especially with the software, no SEMrush subscription will solve your pain.
How do you think about competing with that? Just where there's all of these vendors out there, so many hundreds of vendors that do
Yeah.
SEO things, and you're a business owner operator who's built what you've done on services and from like the intelligence of human beings who actually do the work. How do you think about competing with that?
I mean this in all fairness to everything that, or every SEO software company, especially the ones that we use. Honestly, I think our strategy has just been to wait, because we've had prospects in the past that says, "Oh, we'll do it ourselves. We got SEMrush." They're back in the inbox 4 months later, and that's not like an ego thing. That's not something that even necessarily I want for them. I'd rather them be super successful because that means their business is growing. But the reality is, I think it just becomes a waiting game. Okay, take your time, right? Like I'll help you, I'll support you. If you got questions in the meantime, hit me up. But I think competing against them isn't really an active game for us. It becomes kind of passive to say, I know what works, I know what doesn't work. I don't think this is going to work. Let's stay in good graces and just make sure that we can support you. But I've honestly never seen an SEO strategy led by technology do well. I've seen them supported by technology that do well. That's really what we do. We figure out the human, the client side first. The strategy is what leads it. The tech supports it. Those can go all day long. But if you begin to make the softwares you have the whole strategy of your campaign, it's not going to go very far.
I'd love your opinion on this because I'll put a link in the show notes. Published an article this week on the Numa blog. Go check it out. But I said in it, marketing has spent too much time, energy, and resources trying to build the ultimate marketing technology stack that we've lost focus on what matters most, your next customer. And I really believe this, that a lot of marketing has lost its way, where we think about the people that we're trying to become customers as just things we're trying to push through a process and just data points in a CSV file that we're trying to automate. How how big of a problem, or how big is it of an opportunity is it for a business like Numa, who is trying to promote our services and people in the search economy?
I think it's a huge opportunity, because I've often heard from others as well, and even other agencies for that matter, publish 2 blogs a month and you're set. Like it's a checklist item. It's spoken about in the terms of just, I'm going to cross the item off the checklist and move on to the next one. And I think therein lies our opportunity to say, and really maybe be the annoying agency, but question everything. Well, is it 2 blogs or is it 3? Or is it no blogs? Maybe we need links. Maybe we just need better technical SEO and a few pieces of content. Maybe we need a lot of content. Maybe we need no content. We just need to optimize everything on your site. Like I think there's a lot of power in solving unique problems, not just telling a client you have X problem, I'll solve it with Y solution. Because now we're going on 150 clients, hopefully closing in on 200 here soon. Every single one of those clients has a unique problem. Now, they're all similar. We can all solve them with search, right? But it's the diagnosis of what you're struggling with, what your website needs to rank on the SEO side of things, the components that need to be put into play, and do everything that works and nothing that doesn't to get us there. Um, I think that is our biggest opportunity, that we're going to sit down and figure out what's important and what's wasteful. Don't do the wasteful stuff just to impress you with deliverables. Do the important stuff, because that's what actually moves the needle. And I think the fun in that is, sure, it's way more complicated. Every campaign's a little bit different, a little bit more unique than the other, but clients love it. Clients get bought into it. And when they see that we can get to results quicker and more efficiently than others, why wouldn't you stick with us? Why wouldn't you trust us to continue to solve that problem? So again, I always used to joke internally, and I think I'll even probably say it more so externally now. I'm a big Batman person. I grew up with the Batman, like every Batman movie under the sun I watched. And I always used to laugh that like Batman had a tool belt. And in every scenario he was in, there was some type of tool to use off the tool belt. The one that's scarred into my memory, I think it's from like the 60s Batman. He's got a shark on his leg, and it just like shark repellent appears on his tool belt, and he like sprays the shark and it falls off. I always laugh at that, but it's like he's not using the same tool. It's not the same like battering or whatever it is, right? Like there's a situation and he's like, okay, cool. I need a certain tool for my tool belt to solve it. That's what gets me excited about what we do, because we have a lot of tools on our tool belt. It's all under the guise of SEO, but we have content, we have outreach and link building, we have the technical chops to improve the technical SEO on your website. We have the brains to think strategically about everything. We have a great web team to help really convert the traffic that we already have. Not every campaign just needs SEO. Not every client just needs SEO as a whole. Some do, and that's great. Others might need, well, I need some of, the conversion stuff, some of the technical stuff, but I really need help in the editorial. Let me lean into that. So, and I think that brings us back to the fuller point. Marketing has spent a lot of time trying to fit things into to-do lists, which is fine, but you've almost just taken all the strategy and the fun out of it. Like, let's sit down and figure out this problem and figure out the best solution, the best path forward for both parties, and tackle that. That almost is never a checklist of items.
So I love the Batman analogy.
Be
Batman
careful, because
Return.
now every episode there's going to be a Batman analogy.
Yeah, I think it was Batman Returns when I was growing up, when Danny DeVito was the Penguin, and
Yes.
it just like scared the living shit out of me. I can't get the visual out of my head now.
No,
But
I can't get the visual out of my head for that one either.
I'm thinking about me as a marketer. It is what I've done professionally, and I think about SEO, and SEO is a blind spot for me. It is something that I don't have the subject matter expertise on. I don't have the skills. I've never had the time to learn, but I've always outsourced it. I've always worked with another individual to help make sure the content that I was creating was actually visible and being seen. And I wouldn't even know, I guess, necessarily where to start if I started with technology. And I think about coming to Numa, and I think about some of the conversations I've had. It was like within the first like 2 minutes of chatting with Robert, I realized quickly, it's like, wow, like we have individuals at this company with deep subject matter expertise and passion around their craft. And wow, if I were an outsider, these would be the type of individuals that I'd want to work with to help make sure that my website and my content were showing up. I understood that by working here and like having a conversation with someone on the team, that it's not that easy for like outsiders who have so many options on where to turn, whether it's technology, another agency. How do you think about how, as a business, we can break through in the search economy and just like make sure that like the people that we have, people notice their skills on the front end and want to work with those people?
Yeah, and I actually love uh, your interaction, like you said, with Robert, because I think the more, and it starts even from sales but goes all the way through, the more that we can educate, and really bring you into the fold, unveil the black box, so to speak, that is SEO, and educate you on it, excuse me, the better off we're going to be, right? And I think for you, SEO is this blind spot, and you're like, yeah, somebody else needs to tackle it. And I think typically firms do that. I think marketing agencies have done that forever, in the sense of like, well, we can get you the results, but like, I'm not going to say much because it's our unique process. The beauty is, Google hates unique processes. Hence, Google. You can go Google things and find out what other people are doing. Like, it's the essence of Google to find the information. So I think we're pulling that into what we do as well, and say, okay, we don't do anything really all that unique from the SEO tactical side. I think how we think about SEO, how it layers into your business, and how we put that together strategically, that matters. That's unique. That's the fun part of what we do. And I think that, again, that's our opportunity. But as I think of like our team, it's really anytime we talk to a prospect, future customer, a current client, a past client, we don't want to hide anything behind the scenes. I want to bring you into the fold and educate, because I think even Brett, for your examples of past roles, how much more beneficial would that have been for you to know everything that goes on, understand how it works together? Doesn't mean you have to do it. But now that you know the system and you see the cogs and wheels, so to speak, you can impact that at a better rate than just saying, okay, thanks, great. Or it's like, I don't think this is right, but I don't know how to correct it. So I'm just going to accept it and move on. And that's the worst thing that can happen, especially on the SEO side of things. So I think that's our biggest opportunity. I think of Robert, but then I think of, Roger and Nathan and Jason, others on the team, Faraz. They're sharp. They know their stuff forward and backwards, left and right, upside down. I want to make sure that anytime we have an opportunity to educate a client on what we're doing, and I'd say even more importantly, why we're doing it, not only do we raise their education level, but we can almost give them a seat at the table and have them help us make this a better campaign all around. Because for all the clients we've had, very few of them want to just pay us and disappear. They want to pay us and be involved. And I think that's where, if we can kind of open the door and give them opportunities to be involved, you get better results, you get happier clients. It's a win-win-win, I guess, which is a good thing.
I want to dig into the client and uh, the customer relationship. You were talking through that, and I couldn't help but think back to an earlier time in my career where I was having, we were paying someone to help us out with SEO, and we go through those, regular monthly check-in updates, and I felt like the only words I said were okay, yep, okay, yep. Because they were just going down this list of things that they were working on that I didn't quite understand. And I sat there and I'm like, I'm the leader. Should I understand this or not? And I don't know. It just kind of felt transactional. Like, were we showing up? Sure. But did I have the ability to help us get better through SEO? No, because I just had a lack of understanding. So, what should the role be? Like, how should that go? How should that regular conversation go, just to make sure that there's not just results that are shown, but there's actual value that the business owner or the marketer on the other end can take and infuse it in what they're doing from a marketing perspective to be found by more of the right people.
Yeah, I'll even take it back to the search economy, right? People are searching for answers and searching for solutions. They're driving the bus on that. The vast majority of them use Google. But the reality is there are other opportunities as well. You can build a business without even touching Google. You can build a better business with Google, which is where we live. But one of the biggest questions I ask anytime I'm on a call, uh, we've used the term capture demand a lot, but I got to know what people are demanding. So one of the easiest places to start is marketing, because if marketing has a throughput to sales, you can get the answer. But having someone that represents marketing and sales, hey Brett, hey Jim, what are people saying on calls? What are we requesting? Brett, you made a post. What are some of the comments about? Like, what questions have you been asked this week? Is one of my favorite things to ask to our sales team. Because again, I can go to SEMrush and find keywords that are searched. Great. But I can go to our sales team and find what our specific customers are asking. Because I know if they're asking Mills and asking Jim, they're also asking Google. And I want to make sure we pop up there. And it's one of my favorite things, right? Like, from a tactical side, we can make you show up on Google for anything. But where people get it wrong is that they don't define the anything. For us, to move past that transactional side looks a lot less, we'll talk, we'll give you the metrics, the visitors, because a lot of these people are reporting up as well. You have to tell the story. But more importantly, all right, Brett, what are people searching? Which of your posts did well? Why did they do well? What's a new feature we need to capture demand for? What's a new pain point that you heard from the sales team? What are the questions that you're getting on the CS side of things as well, post sale, that we should be addressing prior to sale? And find all these intricate questions and answers that people are really trying to find, and just make sure we pop up for them. No software is going to help you do that. That's where you just have to sit down and ask. And that is something, as a marketing leader, you can be like, okay, well, maybe I don't know everything about backlinks. I do know what our sales team wants us to talk about, though. I do know what questions they've been asked. I do know what posts are resonating right now. All it is we're taking something that works and we're just giving it to a larger audience.
So we talked Batman. I'm going to talk Spider-Man. My spidey senses always go off a little bit when I'm working with a vendor, agency or software company, and it feels like it's cookie cutter. Like, what is being, like, the way I'm being treated is the exact same way all the other customers are being treated. I'm always just like, this is no good. I am curious, just in terms of like growing the business, like, what is the balance of making sure that the delivery is highly personalized, but and not cookie cutter, but also scalable. Like, what's the balance that you think about that, just in terms of making sure that we're growing and our customers are getting the right amount of service?
Yeah, I'm a big analogy person, as you've likely figured out. I always think of cars, and I think of different trims of cars. So you can get the base model, you can get the one that's a little bit nicer, the one that's a little bit nicer than that, and then the nicest one, right? As you think about SEO, at our core, we still have to do SEO, right? Almost every campaign is going to have certain elements of another campaign, but the variations of what we're doing more of or less of is going to change. But I'd also say how we're delivering and how we're scaling things up or down for clients is really where the difference becomes. It's ultimately those campaigns can get pretty stale and ununique because it's just the same thing over and over and over again. I think making it unique continually comes back to understanding what their goals are, understanding what we're optimizing for, and just thinking a little bit more outside the box to capture some of that. Deliverables do not get the job done. Strategy around those deliverables do. And I think that's where, if we're just doing an action to do it, that's a huge red flag. We have to figure out why that's the case. I'd much rather, I do this actually on the team. Random deliverables. Hey, how does this fit into our strategy? Why are we doing this? Is there a reason we're doing this? Like, see if you have an argument. Most times we do. Sometimes we don't. That's fine. Like, we're building a business as well, and we correct and move forward. But I think bringing everything back to that reason why, that's where things become unique. I think a lot of times it's okay, I'm doing SEO, great. You need 3 blogs, great. I'll go find some keywords and write it. If it's unique and you understand the reason why, well, I'm writing this blog because their sales team said that they were asked this question, and this keyword is going to help us capture the traffic that's already searching for the same question that they were just asked. That's an argument. So I'm a big believer. If you can argue for what you're doing and argue for the deliverables that you're handing off to the client, there's a good reason why. And typically, if there's a reason why, that means it's unique, and you can't say that for somebody else.
I want to close it out by kind of going back to tech. And I'd imagine in just the volume of customers that you've talked with, there's been plenty of examples of this, but customers that maybe might be migrating from tech based SEO to working with an agency like Numa, like, what are some examples of things that you're hearing? I'm imagining there are people that are listening to this that are probably in that camp where they're like, oh yeah, we've got SEMrush, we've got Ahrefs, we've got this system, but we don't actually have like the intelligence or an extension of our team to help us direct and know what we're doing. Like, what are some of the things that you hear in those initial conversations, and then like recommendations for how you can be helpful?
Yeah, it's I hear a lot of, I'm actually sick and tired. I know everything that I need to do. I don't have the time, energy, or understanding of how to all piece it together. I think that's where how we do SEO and how we bring it all to life is actually one of the most valuable things that we can do. There are a lot of clients of ours that know SEO. It's fantastic. There's a reason they hired us. It's because they don't have time to put it all together. And even though they might know how the pieces fit, doing that live time is such a different process every time, right? Like, there's so many little moving parts. And I hear that a lot. Sometimes it's like, yeah, we tech enabled service, software, SEMrush, things like that. I know what to do, but really the only valuable thing is talking to somebody to help me really like make that unique to what I'm doing. SEMrush gives me the basics. They give me the 80% that everybody else is going to get, but what's the 20% that's actually going to move the needle for me? And typically you can only get that from a person. And even once you get it from a person, I don't know, you probably don't want to go implement that right after. The next thing that we've heard a lot on sales calls is, that's great. How much does it cost for you to do all that? I'm bought in. I'm good. I understand it. You're saying all the right things. Can you do it? And I think that's whenever, if I hear that from a prospect, I know we've hit the nail on the head, because we've hit their pain. We've captured it. They also understand what we're doing. And they're like, great, this is fantastic. I could go do this. I'm totally not going to do it. How much does it cost for you to do it for me to make sure that we can scale this out? And I think that's the biggest opportunity. You mentioned Robert and others on the team as well. That's our goal, to take the idea of what needs to happen, the strategy, the tactics, and blending it all together into something that we call SEO is the most fun. But that switch from tech enabled or tech SEO to people-led, human-led, really an understanding of getting the work done and why it needs to be done. That's the fun part, because if we can really service as an extension of your team, you can't jump on a call with your software. It's not going to talk to you. It's just going to give you some info. You got to do something with it. But if you can say, okay, I'm hearing this, I think this, tell me what your strategic recommendation is. That's a whole different form of engagement with a client. And it doesn't take long for people to say, yeah, this is better than SEMrush. Even though you're using it, you make more sense of it than I do, and you know what to actually do once it tells you X, Y, or Z. That's where a lot of people miss out, is taking the recommendations from a software and bringing that into an actual environment.
What we're trying to do is make a complicated topic like SEO easier to digest here on the search economy. I think a little bit peek behind the curtain. I think next time we do one of these, we'll actually have someone on here outside of David and myself. We are going to have guests, so excited to share that. And also, David, I want to shout out your dog for just being completely knocked out this entire conversation. I can tell no care for SEO, no care for the search economy.
Yeah, not, hey, Duke, you want to say hi? He might be dreaming about SEO for all I know. Yeah, he gets an award for that. He's normally not always like that. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited to bring clients on to this as well, customers, even friends of the company as well. I'd say the biggest thing to end it though, and it's something I brought up at the beginning, SEO can be done for free. You can Google things, figure out what other people are doing, and do it better. Like, maybe that's a whole pod, maybe that's a whole episode. It's more so to prove a point. If you can do it for free, you don't need software to do it. Software should only speed up what you're doing and make it more efficient. If you took away SEMrush, if you took away all of our softwares, it's a I guess a hedged bet. We would be able to still deliver results. I'm not even worried about that. Would it take more time? Totally. Like that. There's a reason software exists, to speed it up, but we know exactly where to look for those answers. It would just take us some time. And I think that's why I'm honestly excited about the company we've built up until this point. Software only helps us do our job better. We don't need it. You can cancel all of our subscriptions and we could keep rolling tomorrow and it wouldn't impact us at all, because it's rooted in the strategy. It's rooted in understanding what people do, how people buy, how your customers buy, what your business is really solving for, and making sure when people search for terms similar to that, you show up. And that's the beauty of our firm, but I think it's just the fun of modern day SEO as well. Everything's a software. Finding a way to make software help us, not rely on it, is, I think, one of the biggest value adds of us.
Making the conversation go full circle. Thank you all for listening. We will be back next week.